What's up, Larry?
What is up?
Man, thanks so much for coming out today
Thank you for having me.
to be on the show.
Sweet.
This is our podcast that we've kind of pulled together. I want to talk to people like you who are out there just making it happen, man. You're not only a lifelong martial artist, but you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
In more ways than one.
Yes.
So, it's just my chance to sit down with people like you and kind of pick your brain and find out, what's worked, what hasn't worked, where you're going, what you've been doing, how'd you get here. I've known you for a while now.
Yeah.
I've never taken any classes, but Toby has, my brother. We've run in some of the same circles.
Yes.
For a while. I've been around martial arts pretty much all my life, and so we moved out. You've been in Spring Hill now how long?
Oh my gosh, Spring Hill now for the past 8 years we've been open.
8 years.
8 years.
And was the Franklin? You got two locations.
Two locations.
Franklin, Tennessee, and Spring Hill, Tennessee.
Yes.
And the Franklin one was the first one.
Franklin was the first one. Was opened up in 2010. So,
Wow.
So yeah, just celebrated our 13th year.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into this, man. So you're from Ohio.
Correct.
Were you always a martial artist?
Well, not when I was born, but yes. So shortly after, I found martial arts. It's a funny story, actually. I got beat up when I was 4, coming home from preschool. Because back in the day,
At 4?
4. Back in the day, they allowed kids to roam freely.
Oh yeah, I
in the
remember
neighborhood.
those days.
Yeah, it was great.
We didn't have helmets or anything.
No helmets, no safe space. But I was coming home. The school was right behind our apartment building,
Sure.
and I got beat up. And my dad asked me, he goes, "Do you want this to happen again?" And I said, "No." And so he showed me martial arts, showed me Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the whole world. And he brought me in, and I started training with him and his instructor. And so
your dad was a martial artist.
My dad was a martial artist.
So let me ask you this question though: how old were the kids that beat you up?
Oh, they were in that kindergarten.
Oh, okay.
Range.
So a little older.
Yeah.
4-year-old's pretty young though, man.
I know, right?
Like you barely have any sense of direction.
I
at that
still
point.
remember I had a little it broke my heart. I had a transformer, and she took it, and it was a little girl who whooped my butt.
Oh man.
I know.
Story gets better
right?
and better.
I know, right? just keep on digging. And she broke it, and I was distraught. And so because of that, I kind of wanted to never have that happen again. I felt weak. I felt, just taken advantage of. And, as a kid,
Yeah.
that could damage you. So
Sure.
my dad saw it, and it was my stepdad who got me involved in this. And he saw a need, and I really kind of commend him on this one, because it wasn't that he tried to fix it. He said, "Listen, I know what can fix this, and here's the avenue that I found, and I want to share it with you." And so,
Oh, okay.
And so it was really cool.
Was your dad military?
No, he wasn't. No,
He got into martial arts.
He was just, I think, an old hippie who loved Bruce Lee. So
Old hippie that loved Bruce. That sounds like a T-shirt.
I know, right?
Or a song.
I know.
Man, so you got in it at 4, and you've been in it ever since. Just that's been your life.
Absolutely.
Did you compete?
I did. I competed. So once I ended up, it was probably around when I was 12, I started competing local tournaments, PKC, up in Northern Ohio, and did very well, and then started branching off into NASCA. And so
NASCA.
Oh, the old NASCA.
What was your first NASCA tournament?
Oh, Bluegrass Nationals.
No way.
Yeah.
That was Brian's first NASCA
I know, right?
tournament.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Yeah, so NASCA was one of my first big experiences to see just martial artists from all over the country that were just like me. It was cool. It was neat to see that there was a big community of people that supported each other. And as you're competing, as you go to these tournaments, you end up forming friendships and bonds with people that just last forever. And we see each other once a month, once every couple months. And
Next city, next tournament.
Next city, next tournament, and you get in trouble. I mean,
yeah, you do.
So it was so much fun. So.
I was always on the outer rings of that whole. I always have been. Just sort of circling that karate world. But we've been around it. I mean, we went to the Bluegrass Nationals. God, it's in the late '80s.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It was.
It was
a great tournament. I liked it.
At one time, it was like one of the top 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I still think the top 1 is the battle. because I love, like, I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed the battle. So
I remember it was the Battle of Atlanta was a big one for sure. It was the big one still then for sure, because it was one of the few that was actually on television.
yeah,
Bluegrass Nationals was big. I think there was 4 of them. 'Cause I don't think the U.S. Open was one of them.
no
It was the Capitol Classics and the Diamonds.
Diamonds. Yeah, I remember the Diamonds.
I think it was
Capitals.
those 4. Of course, the Capitol's kind of not what it used to be.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Diamonds is still big. It's such an interesting world for those that don't know. It's like it's crazy because, like, it's not something that everybody has ever been exposed to.
Yeah.
But once you kind of see it and you're kind of in it, I brought friends to the battle a few years ago before COVID, which I thought was one of the best shows we put on that last year before COVID. And I remember I brought people in. They were just mesmerized by what we were doing.
Yes.
I was like, because they'd never seen that stuff before.
No.
And I mean, it's evolved over time. It used to be pretty fighting heavy. And then through the late 90s and 2000s with the emergence of Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, it got a lot more. XMA became a thing. I used to work at XMA, by the way.
You're kidding me, really?
I worked at the XMA World Headquarters.
Wow, good old Mike Chat.
Yeah, I worked for Mike. Anyway, yeah. So, like I said, I've always been on the fringe of this whole business from like all sides, and it's interesting to see how it's kind of evolved over the years, where it's going. It's it's in a weird spot now. I mean, COVID took a real big hit on it.
Yeah, the entire industry. I mean, what was it? 1/3 of all martial arts schools closed.
Brian closed his.
Oh, you're kidding me! I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh no, he So how do I? For years, Brian had. This is my brother Brian. He would,
phenomenal competitor. I mean, he's like, people still talk about him, like in the circles that I was just in.
Yeah.
I was in Scottsdale, and Jody Tension was just talking about him.
Yeah, Brian and Jody had some matches.
Yeah, I mean, it was epic. I mean, you talk about creating a platform for the new era of martial artists to jump off of. I mean, they set that bar high. They set that really hard. So
yeah, those are some top fighters back in the day.
Yeah.
Brian opened his school. It was like 2000, early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, something like that. I mean, his kids grew up there.
Yeah.
And somewhere in like 2010 area, Brian was, he had a day job. He ran the school at nights. He got the school to the point where it was kind of functioning. A lot of times just without him, because the kids got older and they could teach classes, and he had a couple instructors and they could teach classes. But he was doing a day job. He started doing benches and decks.
Oh, yeah.
And he worked for a company there in Louisville, and he worked at it, and they got him where he learned how to bid the jobs. So it wasn't just he learned how to be an installer. He learned how to do the business side of it, things. Yeah. And he he kept doing all these side jobs on the weekends and like just to get extra cash. And I remember going like, man, why? And he would always complain about the karate school. He's always complaining about the karate school. This. I don't like the hustle. I don't like the marketing. I don't want to do this, and I got to be there to do that. And I was like, man, dude, why do you keep doing this? If it's struggling, and we'll talk about this because location is everything.
Yes.
And so I said, Brian, take my advice. I don't know nothing about nothing. All right, but you draw a 5-mile circle around your karate school. Mm-hmm. All right, and how many people within that 5 miles can afford your services, or even want your services or need your services? And I said, why don't you move your location? He said, well, I can't afford it. I said, well, there is a trade-off. You're going to pay a higher rent, but you're going to probably get more exposure, which should cover that. Mm-hmm. But needless to say, he wasn't in a bad spot. He had a great school. It was big. It was like an old store. I don't know how much square foot it was, but it was pretty large. Because he had 2 or 3 mats. Yeah. It was much bigger than yours.
Yes.
At least the one I've seen here. But COVID came along, and he just. For years I told Brian, I said, man, if you want to do this fencing stuff, and you think you can make more money at it, why don't you just go do fencing? Go start your own business. And again, I remember being told early on, and go start. You should start your own business, and you might as well have asked me to fly to the moon. I was like, we need to start my own business. I can't start my own business.
That's a failure of our education system. There's so many entrepreneurs that are out there that have no clue because the education system does not teach them this. This is one of the biggest things that prevented me. And if I could have gotten started after high school, which is what I wanted to do, but
really,
they told me, you can't do that. No. You need at least $500,000 in capital and blah 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 blah.
$500,000?
Yeah, but people
to
that
start
don't
a karate
know.
school.
By people that don't know.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, So sorry.
No. That's well, So anyway, once COVID happened, like the demand for home improvement jumped.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the fence and deck business took off.
Of course.
And the karate school kind of went to the wayside because and especially in Kentucky, they weren't allowed to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those states that was pretty locked down as far as gatherings.
Yeah.
So he just sold it. He got to the end of it. He said, "I'm just done with this. I'm going to sell it."
At least he sold it.
He did. I mean, when I say he sold it, he just
handed it over.
And here it is.
To his
pay
students.
me for this, and we're going to go our separate ways.
Yeah. Pay me for the mats and the equipment.
So there is still an Olympic Karate School.
Okay.
Or Olympic Karate Studios, but it's not. My brother has nothing to do with it anymore.
Oh.
And I think
it's heartbeaking.
It is. And he's moved on from
heartbreaking.
Martial arts. He's closed that page in his, that chapter of his life, and he's moved on to being a fence and deck guy.
Yeah.
And now he works with his son, Jacob.
That's
and
rewarding.
Jacob runs the business side of it, and Brian does the installs.
Nice.
So it's fun to listen to him talk about what goes on behind the scenes, because Jacob's a smart kid, but he's like, sometimes he thinks like, he's like, he forgets to do stuff,
Yeah.
like, or he's like, hey, we'll be out there in 2 weeks, and it's 6 weeks, so there's some things to learn, but it's interesting when you're starting a business, man.
It is.
But I want to get back to what you were saying, man. You're right. I never once thought out of high school through college, none of that stuff, through 2 master's degrees, that, man, maybe I should start my own business and do my own thing. And because I felt like I was one of those guys that, I wasn't like, I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have that singular focus where, hey, I'm going to go be a doctor. Hey, I'm going to go, be a graphic designer. I just was interested in a lot of stuff, and I really didn't know. And because I have one of those Renaissance minds that I want to do a little bit of this, I want to do a little bit of that, and I know that's a very difficult path to go down if you want to be great at one thing, But at the same time, it's like I feel like there's things I've learned along the way that have really helped me today.
Yeah.
Especially when dealing with people.
Yes.
So, but it's not something I learned, and you're right. That's not something they teach.
It's heartbreaking in a way because, you think of all the people that could be improving the world, stepping up, leaders. I think, teaching simple stuff like teaching kids about credit. Like, I don't know how many people that I run into, how many teenagers I run into that are just can't wait till they get their first credit card. And I'm like, why? Like, let's not do this. Parents, parenting on how you can set up your kids' credit by adding them as a signer or adding them as a user on your credit card when they're 14, 15, 16. And then by the time they're 18, they have a credit history just by paying off that credit card on time. Things that you can do to help set up your kids. But the school systems, I would love for them to broaden the material that they're taught to say, listen, you have the option of going to college, or you can think about, here's how you write a business plan. Here's some things that you can do. Don't think about, people say if you make money at something, it becomes a chore. And I completely disagree. I say you take money and just completely write it out of the equation, and you just start doing the things that you love to do and find out how that it can help other people, or if it just brings you joy. If you enjoy woodworking, great. You can go and make fences for people. You can build decks. You can go and become a framer, or find out how you can create something, sell it on Etsy, create a Shopify or whatever, those types of things. I think giving the kids the tools and the direction of here's options that you can do versus just a standard option of go to college. You know, I mean, my opinion, and it's my opinion only, I think college sometimes is a waste for people. Like, I don't know how many people I run into that have college degrees that they never even used. Are you one of them too?
Not necessarily. No. I mean, part of it, partially. I was going to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So I have an education side of my degree that I've never really used.
Yeah.
Not really. And I have a master's in education that I've never really. However, I have had a lot of clients that were either universities or public school systems.
Yeah.
And because I have that background, I actually can speak their language very well. So there has been some benefit. Some benefit to it. I just never want to work in the public. I definitely wouldn't want to work in it today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's just a train wreck.
Yeah, and it's getting worse.
So let me ask you this, man.
Yes.
You're a lifelong martial artist. You competed. You know, at what point in your career, what were you doing before you started your school?
Okay, so
out of college, you.
No, I went to college for 2 weeks. I went to Kent State University for 2 weeks.
What, you can't find a parking spot and just leave?
They came up to me 2 weeks after I started, and this is hilarious too, because I started, and one of my things is I was going in for business management, and at one of my business classes, the guys was talking about taxes in business and talking about the tax code, and he was actually giving incorrect information. Ask me how I know. It was because I was running a business at the time.
Oh, what was that?
It was my first martial arts school.
Oh, okay.
So, I bought into it, and we were running it. We just had this conversation with our accountant about what write-offs we can have. And there's different write-offs you can have as an S-corp versus an LLC versus a sole proprietor. And so we were talking about this, and he was giving incorrect information. And I kind of told him, hey, not quite accurate. And I got pretty much berated because of it. It was horrible. And so later on that week, I got a nice little letter from the financial aid department that said that my financial aid didn't go through because I was also working 2 other jobs.
Okay.
And they said, you make too much.
Yeah,
and so I was like,
that's a thing.
I was like, I'm done. And so I bowed out. The next week after that, I got a call asking for me to donate $2,500 so a needy child can go to college.
From the college?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or from whatever department it was. So I was just kind of like,
I'm the needy child.
Yeah. I was like, this is ridiculous. And so because of that, I bought into I just got to go get a 9-to-5 job.
Mm.
And so I ended up working at a place called Deluxe Business Systems where we print your checks.
Yeah, I've heard of Deluxe.
Yeah. So I actually get Deluxe checks now.
Still.
And so, and I was, I started printing checks, and I did that for several years. And then I was working at the karate school that I bought into. It was me and 2 other partners. And we just kind of juggled classes. It was pretty much just like whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was teaching some private lessons to make more income. And I was making $50 for a private lesson for 30 minutes. So it was pretty good back then.
Yeah.
And my boss came up to me. He wanted me to work overtime. And I said, I can't. I have a private lesson, 2 kids that are depending on me. And he was like, Larry, your future in this company is a bright one. You might want to think about, giving up at that point $18 an hour to, go and teach. And I was like, what? I make $50 an hour teaching. He was like, what? And that was the first time I was like, what? Wait a second.
Wait a second.
The math doesn't work. I'm giving up 50 to So I started thinking about as maybe this is something I can do full time. Maybe this is something that maybe I don't have to have the 9-to-5 job. Maybe I don't have to have the stable, income. If I can make what my passion is my stable income. And so that was the first step I started making into martial arts as my career. This is something I'm doing. I'm printing checks to make ends meet. But this is something that I could do to make a difference. And that was kind of like the fork in the road for me. It was like either I want to do something that I do to survive, or I do something that I do to thrive. And that's the path that I ended up choosing. So
it's crazy how much of this is just a perception.
Of course.
Like for me, that's kind of like the click in my head was like, wait a minute, I don't have to do it this way.
Yes.
It was a perception. I literally like, I don't know, like you ever seen like those models, like they take it and they pull out and they turn it. And
yeah.
And it's kind of like how it worked. It was like like it pulled out, and like I turned a little bit, and I started looking at the equation a little bit different. I thought, wow, like this isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, there are trade-offs. There are trade-offs to running your own business, and it has nothing to do with money or time.
Yep.
Well, time I would think, but I mean it does. But don't get me wrong, it does. It actually has everything to do with both.
Yes.
I take that back. It has everything to do with both. But it's like, that's the things I learned really quickly, because I get this a lot, and I'm sure you probably have too. It's like people assume because you have your own business or you have all this time, you can you can set your own schedule. You can get away when you need to, and it's like
there's a point where you can. Okay. Yes. See, there's stages in your running your own business. When you first start, your business runs you. That is the you just go. You don't have a clock in or a clock out. You wake up, that's your clock in. You go to sleep, that's your clock out. If you're lucky to go to sleep, that's the beginning phases.
Yeah.
So I look at entrepreneurship as like when you're starting a business, especially if you don't have a structured guide or a mentor to kind of help you through the system, to kind of speed you up a little bit. You are going to make lots of mistakes. So you can't be afraid to make the mistakes. That's your college. That is your teacher. The mistakes are your teacher. Just stay the course. And then once you get that, you start working, and my wife hates it when I say this, but you start working yourself out of a job. So I find people that align with my core values that come in, and then I can say, okay, well, instead of me doing this part of my job, I'm going to teach you and train you how to do this job, and I'm going to train you how to do it better than I do it. And then I work them into it. Then I back out a little bit. So you do end up finding time, but it's much later in the entrepreneurship stages where you're not running everything. Your development, then your training, and then you can back out and get that 10,000 foot view so you can scale your business.
I think that's a mistake. I don't know if I've made that mistake. Is like thinking you need to do your business is dependent on you.
Yes.
And I think a lot of small business owners tend to make that mistake because either they have the knowledge and the skills and they're the only ones that can do this, and they haven't invested in, and I know it's tough. It's tough to find good people these days. Because there is this mindset of like, man, I can get on YouTube and just, make $100,000. Why do I need to go learn a skill or a trade?
Do it.
Go great. I know. My thing is like, but it's hard to find those skills of. I think things can be taught. Skills can be taught.
Yes.
Whether it's framing a house or it's doing martial arts
Yes.
or video production or whatever. I think those things can be taught. What can't be taught is showing up on time.
Ethics.
Being responsible. People call them soft skills, but I don't know why they call them soft, because they're not really soft.
Foundation skills.
They're foundational.
Yes.
I always equate it back to sports, and you're in the sports world.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to know the fundamentals.
Yes.
I see a lot of trickers out there. People doing the creative forms.
Yes.
And they're flippy and they're spinny and they look cool.
Yes.
But they are not throwing karate kicks.
No, punching with improper technique, blocking something that doesn't even make sense. Yes, I understand. Yeah, absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? And I think
100%.
when it comes to the business world, we don't take that time. We don't take that time to. I had this epiphany about myself. I feel like there's a lot of times.
That way.
Yeah, I had this epiphany about myself not too long ago, and it's kind of kicked me in the gut, where I feel like there's times when I skip steps.
Yeah.
To try to get ahead, and I didn't learn something. I didn't learn the process for myself.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where it's like, well, if you don't do the work, you're going to cheat yourself, and you don't really understand that until like it's either maybe sometimes too late or it comes back around. You're like, oh, I really don't know what I'm talking about. I really don't know what I'm doing. And that to me sometimes is like one of those things that, I wish I could spin the clock back and tell myself, like, look, you just learn how to do this. Don't try to jump that. Just learn it. I think one of the guys I was talking to on this, for the show was telling me that, and I thought, man, I really could have learned some more things. But you back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent.
No.
I do that. I have these ADD moments.
That's where learning happens. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. It is. It's like you gotta like what skills can I acquire?
Yeah.
That will help me long term. And I think one of the things, like you said, with entrepreneurs, and you obviously seem to have a little foreknowledge of this, because when I've talked to you about business, I'm always kind of impressed. I'm gonna go, man, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. Kind of want to pick his brain a little bit.
Thank you.
But it's like, I think that's one of those things. Is like you've got to invest in people as much as anything, because what happens if you get hit by a bus? Does the business keep going, or does the business fold? And does your family suffer from that, or is the business going to keep going? There's so much that goes into it, and that part can get a little scary and a little uncertain. But at the same time, I think it's just like anything else. It's one foot in front of the other. Put one step down.
It's the plan. You're exactly right.
Did you draw out a business plan?
Yes.
Okay.
But my business plan is constantly evolving.
Which it should.
I think that
because the markets change.
Markets change, but also the purpose for it changes. When I first started, it was just my wife and I, and
is she a martial artist?
She's a martial artist.
Okay, cool.
She's a 5th degree.
Wow.
Her first conversation.
She's not the girl that beat you up.
I know, right? She's no, she's not. That would be hilarious.
That would be though.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that would write a book on that
you
one.
should just tell people that.
That should make it up. Make it up. Fake it till you make it.
Okay.
But the I forgot where I was at, but
you and your wife started the business.
Yeah, we started the business, and it was just us. And then, as we grew, we acquired obviously employees, which, with the school name Family First, our employees become our family. And so then we're realizing that we have to evolve this past just us. And then when we had kids, it was, okay, this really has to evolve past just us. I have to make it to where it's beneficial to them, where they're doing work that makes them feel fulfilled, but also I'm creating a legacy for them and opportunities for them to grow financially, investment opportunities in future schools, and then setting up my kids to where, when they get older, they can either take over operations or, just receive dividends on the business. So your plans have to evolve and have to change. And I think, setting yourself up and planning things out, having these steps, allows you to really kind of chart a course for where you want to go. And then when something happens like COVID, you have to be, those plans cannot be so set in stone. They have to be able to be pivoted really quick to something completely different. And
did you guys go virtual?
Yeah, we went virtual.
Oh, I trust you did, because I remember Eli doing the karate class on the.
Yeah, I think it was the best, quickest way to do it.
Yeah, made sense.
However, I don't think it is a sustainable way to do martial arts, and
because there's actual physical adjustments that have to be made in that kind of a sport, in a sporting environment.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. I could imagine just how do you play basketball online? I mean, you can, I guess, there's that.
But they worked on ball handling. They came up with some amazing apps. There was lots of ingenuity that came out through necessity. And I thought that was probably one of the best things that happened, from COVID, is that.
Well, speaking of challenges, what was some of your challenges when you first got the business started getting the business, trying to get Family First off the ground?
So first of all, my age. It's very difficult to start when people look at you like a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time when we first started, I already had decades underneath my belt, since I started so young, of martial arts, and I know what I'm talking about. I know what I do, and so having adults come in and think that, what's this kid going to teach my kid? When you walk into a martial arts school and you see a whole bunch of teenage kids teaching classes, you kind of scratch your head a little bit, talking to them about how to improve their lives and how to focus better at school and stuff like that. As an adult, you would look at someone like that and say, I'm not too sure about this kid. So that was a challenge for us until we started proving ourselves with their kids. The kids would go home, be more confident, and I think have learn a passion for something. And I think any parent that sees their kid enjoying something and learning through that and getting better, they realize the value of a thing. another big challenge was the space. When you said your location is everything.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh man, that was brutal. We were in a closet.
A little closet.
A little closet. It was horrible.
Was it here in Franklin?
It was in Franklin. We started in the old A Game Sportsplex.
No idea what that is.
Okay, it was where the hockey rings were.
Oh, okay.
And they put us in a room that was overlooking both hockey rings. And this was fantastic.
Oh, so you were inside like a sports complex?
Yes.
Okay.
It was great. It was really cool. It was an observation room for both hockey rings until a hockey puck went into the window. And we realized that this is probably not the best area for little children to be moving around in. So they moved us into what we call the long glorified closet. It was about 8 foot wide and about 35 feet long.
Wow.
It was another weird kind of like observation room for one of the rings. But it was so difficult. We grew in that place very slowly, very, very slowly. But it's also, again, lots of challenges were had there about how to teach classes, how to adjust your class for such an area. How do you teach, certain things? How do you spar in an area 8 foot wide? I mean, come on. So we became more self-defense focused and less sparring focused. And, our students kind of grew in that environment. And it wasn't until we were able to move out that we realized, we could see that the environment had a massive impact in our students. So that was a very, your environment is important.
I'm trying to like envision that in my head. It's like got one karate line instead of like multiple,
Yes.
Everybody line up and it's like,
yeah, it's a line.
like checking the guy in the way in the back. Wow, that's pretty funny. How long were you there?
We were there a year and a couple months.
You ever stop and think back about those years?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, man, remember we were in that closet? It was really long.
We still talk about it. We still have some staff members that are still like family to us, and they're one's a nurse now, one's an accountant or financial planner, and they're talking to us, and we're still reminiscing about those days. And remember that time you threw a pad all the way across the room and hit that kid in the head? That was hilarious. Ha 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 ha.
That's pretty funny. That's great. How, I remember when we started the comic shop, we started off in a flea market and in another state doing this business. We had to drive every weekend to a flea market just to kind of get, it was one of those deals where you could just leave your stuff.
Yeah.
As long as you paid the rent for the next week.
Yeah.
Because it was week to week. And it was cheap rent. And we got to where we had a couple little regulars, but we couldn't really do the things we wanted to do, obviously, because we were just basically there. And like one day we'd make a little bit of money and next day we'd sell $10. It was like just depended on the day. We started this like right in the thick of COVID. It was like as soon as they opened up flea markets to like, it's cool, just wear a mask.
Yeah.
But I remember the whole time thinking like, man, I just gotta find a place. We gotta find a place. I don't want to keep driving up here. This is it was easy for me because I had family and I could stay. But it was like that whole thought running through my head. So I gotta find, and we looked forever for. I mean, it was like it felt like we checked every commercial availability in the area.
Here in Spring Hill,
Columbia.
Spring Hill is brutal.
Spring Hill is brutal. Like it's very tough.
Yeah.
Especially on the Williamson County side.
Yes. Very good.
And I was just driving by one day, here, and I saw, wait a minute. Okay, stopped the truck, jumped out, took a picture of the phone number, called the lady, and it was, it took a couple of, weeks, but we worked something out. I was like, okay,
nice.
We got in here, and actually, I think we had the same landlord.
Really?
I think so.
Nice.
I think because they showed us the space that's on the other side of your building down here.
Yeah.
But it's sort of in the back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's that whole building's one landlord.
Yes, it is.
Then it's probably the same
yes,
landlord.
Same one. Same one.
We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yes, we will talk about that.
But
notice I'm just smiling.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but like was that one of those things that was in your head that was like, man, I'm thinking about, man, where are we gonna find space? Where are we gonna find this space?
Yes, Spring Hill happened. It was the easiest startup that we've ever done. So when we were in Franklin, that one took a while. Luckily, from that closet that we were in,
yeah,
we ended up looking at a space that we're currently at down in Franklin, in that Watson Glen Center. That's our new place. But we were getting ready to pull the trigger, and the rent was like more than we had coming in, and it was just kind of like, okay, are we going to be able to do this? We're going to get 3 months upfront rent. Can we grow to where we're just paying the bills? And that was really stressful. We were just getting ready to sign the lease, and then my wife, in her brilliancy, she's a researcher at heart, and she researches everything. And she says, well, we contacted this place at Chadwick's. It was another fitness center.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem too happy about the people that they had in there as their subtenants. Maybe we should check back with them. And so she did. And he ended up we went meeting with him, and he told us what he wanted for rent for a 4,100 square foot, place. It was a basketball court. And so we got into there, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm trying not to, my best poker face.
Yeah.
He tells me what the rent is, and I was no kidding. We were like in that little small closet paying $900 a month for that place, and they would constantly move us. It was ridiculous. They moved us into a locker room one time. Yeah, that was horrible. And so he told us it was going to be $1,200 a month, and I remember my inside was just like, yes, we'll do it now, yes. But I was like, okay, well, we're going to talk about it and see if we can make that work. And we get in the car, and Danny and I are like, did he say $1,200 a month? Not like a week? And we're like, yeah, $1,200 a month.
For a basketball gym.
For a basketball gym.
Wow.
And so he helped us get our real big start. Because of that, we were able to start investing into the school, dumping money into the school, hired some people. Yeah, got top of the line mats. And that's what helped us grow, and then quickly get on building a staff so we can then carbon copy it down here. And when we moved down to Spring Hill, we literally walked into the UAW hall and kind of did the same thing. We said, hey, we want to start up a martial arts program here a couple days a week. You guys be open to that? We're like, yeah. I'm like, well, how much are you looking for rent? And they're like, it's $300 a month. So we're like, we'll see if we can make that work. And within a month, we were in there operating, and we had like 30 or 40 students. At that point, it was getting to they had switched over some ownership of the place, and they were changing some things, but it went from 300 to 350. Whoop-de-doo. And so we're like, I don't know, it's really steep. I don't know, we're going to have to look for places. And then we started looking for places. And the building that we just got into, that was a long, drawn-out negotiation. We had a realtor and all that fun stuff.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And again, that. I wish I kind of had something like that, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if you need it, but
you don't.
It definitely is helpful.
Because there's things you don't know.
Yes.
There's things I didn't know.
And it was helpful because the space that we were looking at wasn't on the market yet. But the realtor knew, and so she knew that it was coming on market, so she was able to get us in there first, and so then we were able to really kind of negotiate from that point on, and so that helped. So
I think that's really interesting. I didn't realize you had built your businesses, because it's so, you think with a martial arts school, it's like space first, business second. That's not what you did. No. Business first, space what came later.
Yeah, that's as a core principle of ours, we never go in the red. So I'm always investing. I will not take pay, and I'll take what we've earned and then reinvest it in the business. And I keep doing that to grow. Once we grow to a certain level, then I can start taking my draw, or my.
Are you an LLC?
We're an LLC.
Okay.
So, but we're moving to an S corp as of next in January. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's way overdue. I've been trying to do it for 5 years, but my accountant.
Are you looking to expand?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
To another city?
Massive expansion. I want to go to 3 more schools in 5 years.
What?
Yeah. I'm going to take over Tennessee, and then probably the Eastern Seaboard.
It's like the new David Deaton.
I can't. No.
Okay.
No. We're wanting to expand on what martial arts does. Like I'm saying.
What areas are you thinking of? Just out of curiosity.
Next area, Nolensville.
It's very up and coming. Then North Brentwood. Honestly, I think it's already come. It's already there.
It's there, but there's no martial art. There's one martial arts school.
There.
Yeah, it's nothing. And
then the residential is there.
Yes, and there's plenty of kids there, and I think that's a great area. North Brentwood, maybe Green Hills, and then Mount Juliet. So all up in those areas.
Mount Juliet's definitely that's a big spot.
It is.
Of course, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know much about the Green. Not some place I would go. Yeah, let's run up there and go. But
Green Hills is a very bustling area.
Totally.
It's like 20 minutes to get down the street because of traffic. However, the income in that area is ridiculous. So, you're looking at charging, $250, $300 a month in tuition. I mean, easily, without breaking a sweat. So you can have a much smaller footprint.
what is your, if you don't mind me, is that something we can talk about?
No, sure, no problem.
What's your tuition?
$229.
$229.
Mhm.
Okay, that ain't terrible.
No.
10 years ago when I was in LA, no, was it? Well, it's been a while. Yeah, it was $200.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's LA. Now,
it was $200 to do it. Like, it was like $200. That was the full XMA package.
yeah,
And a lot of parents paid that, but all the kids wanted to do was bounce on the trampoline.
yeah. And
They were only taking karate classes.
I think the martial arts industry as a whole is decades behind of other youth sports, of youth industries.
How so?
Their pricing models and how they approach the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I think is way behind. If you look at like dance, gymnastics, football, baseball, soccer, all those events, especially travel leagues, parents are willing to invest money into these industries, into these sports. They're not concerned about, they need to have these uniforms, they need to have this equipment, they need to have any of these things. They're gladly pay it. Whereas martial arts, we're so concerned about, let's give them a free uniform. Let's have discounts for this. Let's have discounts for this. And when you start looking at operational costs over the last 10 years and how much they've increased, our pricing is not increasing in line with that. And so we've gotten to a point where martial arts instructors are running schools but not making any money. They're doing it more of a kind of like almost like pro bono. I mean, they're just kind of like.
Do you use the billing system that everybody else uses? I can't remember what it's called.
We use Spark.
So it's not the same one that everybody else uses.
No, I don't know what everybody else is using. The billing system.
Is it a martial arts system or is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
the martial arts. It's proprietary for martial arts, but gymnastics uses it too. But they just kind of help with the management of your
Sure.
customers.
Credit card processing.
Yeah.
And stuff.
They have their own processing,
Yeah.
and it's great. But I think just martial artists, they're just not thinking about. Martial artists are great, talented individuals that try to take what they do and run a business, but they have no business experience, and so they're set up in a way that isn't conducive to growth. And this is why martial arts schools fail a lot, because they don't have any business.
Yeah, that's a very common theme.
Yeah, and it's
a common
heartbreaking.
theme, and not just in martial arts.
I know, but
I didn't really have any business experience.
But you're successful here.
I'm getting there. I mean, it's like you're building the plane when you're taking off. That whole,
Yeah.
analogy. It's like you really, honestly, I remember there are times when we're like, this is going to be $1,000 to do, or $4,000, and you might as well have been $4 million. We're like,
Yeah.
where are we going to come up with $4,000 for this? And getting a sign on the roof, things like that. It's just like, it's things that you've got to have. And that's something I was going to ask you, like, how much money do you spend per month, or at least early on when you're building these businesses, on marketing?
Okay, so before you open up a school or during the opening?
All of the above, bro.
Okay, so the marketing that goes into prior to opening up a school, the smartest thing for you to do is to do pre-launches, where you say, hey, we're opening up on a specific date, and I'm going to sell memberships at a reduced rate of where they're going to be. Like, membership's going to be $229 day opening, but for now we're selling them at $170 or $169, and the target would be to get about 150 people signed up at that point. I mean, some people are really aggressive and say, I want to have 200 plus people signed up on day opening, which would be ridiculously cool. But in order to do that, you need to be stupid aggressive with your marketing. You need to get those people that are, I hate to say it like this, but almost used car salesmen, to go out and canvas parking lots, to go out and, aggressively put your Facebook ads together. So you're dumping at least $1,000 a month into what you're doing. I would say.
Did you pay someone or did you do it yourself?
I pay somebody. We use Relentless Media Agency with Adam Kiefer.
Good name.
I know, right? Relentless. Relentless is absolutely amazing. They're going to tear up the martial arts industry. They are reinventing kind of what martial arts does.
Really?
They're amazing. We'll get into that. Yeah,
okay.
They're awesome. Awesome people. But when you're pre-launch, you dump a bunch of money into it. I would say probably have a budget of $5,000-$6,000 just in just your marketing, just for pre-launch. Because then once you open up, then you're sitting at least, and let's just say if you do a crappy job, 100 students paying, say 150 just to make the math even, you're now 15,000, in receivables each month, which is enough for you to be able to run a school with maybe an assistant or two, and you're going to be covering all of your bills. And then you maintain, the base minimum that I would do for Facebook marketing would be about $600 a month. Just $20 a day. And then, just kind of bump that out there, just kind of push and just try to get about 15 members each month, and keep your, if you keep your quality high and high energy classes, you won't have the churn rate, less than 4% is kind of where you want to be. But then you'll really start seeing a massive growth in your school. And by the time you're end of year one, you're probably, net profit 100, 200,000, 150,000 probably maybe.
Why do you think so many small business owners, and I'm as guilty of this as the next person, don't do that? Don't even invest in the marketing.
They don't think it works because there's
no immediate return.
Well, they market to martial artists,
or they just throw it on the Facebook and it goes to their 25 friends.
Yeah. You have to know, and this is, I think, where that business planning really helps, because you have to know what you're marketing. Like if you sat down, one of the exercises I do with our staff, our team, is we sit down and we say, okay, what benefits do we provide? Like, what are we doing? What are we improving? And then we just kind of do we go over and we just write down as many different things as we possibly can, and we throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall. Then each person will go up and they'll circle 3 things, out of all of them that they think that we really help and we fix. Once we have that down, we'll look and see, okay, where are the most circles? We have 3 main top things, and that's our marketing. If we're helping kids be more confident, more focused, more physically fit, and preparing them for challenges in life and real life, not just on the martial arts floor, then that's what we need to market. We don't want to market kids in uniforms holding up trophies, become a champion in life and in martial arts. Great. And then we're now getting people that are coming in looking for the tournaments. So you have to know what you're doing so you can market to those benefits. And then you get people in that as soon as they take first class, they're receiving those benefits. Then they're pumped up and excited. And I think martial artists fail with that because they're marketing to other martial artists. They're marketing the stuff that we
Preaching
love.
to the choir.
Yeah, we love this stuff, and you're not going to get martial artists. They're focusing on,
or they're jaded.
Yeah, lots of them are jaded. I'm jaded.
Sure.
It's
well,
just part of it.
I'm listening to things like, man, I should be doing that with this business. I should be doing that with this other business. I'm like, there's some good stuff here, man. You've got strategies that, in some ways, seem a little corny, but at the same time, it's like it's working.
Well, it's.
When it's like you're throwing stuff at the wall, it's like, let's circle this. It's like it's crazy, like teacher brainstorming sessions, but it's like, hey, it's working.
It does work.
Because like you really don't. Fortunately, you've got a staff. You can kind of sit around. What are the top 3 things we're really focusing on right now? And it's interesting. If I was to sit down with the team here at the comic shop, it's like, well, what are we really selling here?
Yes.
And I don't really, my team with the video production company is a lot of freelance based. So they're like, but I'm looking at the markets going, man, I've been doing things a certain way for so long.
Yeah.
It's like, but now I'm like, I see this shift, at least when I go to bid jobs, I don't think our customers know what they want. No. They know they have to have video. They don't want to pay for it because nobody wants to pay for marketing, But at the same time, it's like, well, what can we do what do I possess? What can I do for these people that's that they can pay for, because when it comes to what I do, it's like either you don't have the time or you don't have the know-how or both,
Often both.
often both. But the access to doing this has never been easier,
I agree 110%. I mean, you can pick up your phone and you have a video production studio right there.
100%.
And, you can get mic quality with a simple $100 investment of a Rode mic. It's very easy, but there's more to it. This is like, like with graphic design. People look at, now and say, well, there's so many different templates out there. Why do I need to pay a graphic designer?
100%.
But you're not going to be able to design anything if you don't know what the message is that you're behind your design.
I equate it to this. You can buy the Jordans, man, but you can't. That doesn't mean you
Amen.
play the game.
Amen. Those are some big shoes to fill.
Well, I'm saying, it's like you can get all the cool equipment and you can have all the bells and whistles, but at the same time, there's a knowledge that you can't buy, or there is a skill set that you can pay for, but it takes time to acquire.
But it all goes back to those basic fundamentals.
100%.
I mean, if you don't know what message you're speaking as a business, if you don't know who you're speaking it to, marketing is a very specific art. It's not, and by no means am I a marketer. That's why I pay people to do it, because I realize that I'm not. That's not my forte. I'm so immersed in my industry that I speak to other martial artists, but that's not who I'm marketing to. I'm marketing to the parents who want their kids to be involved in something that's going to be nurturing, that's going to push them and challenge them, that's going to prepare them for life. You talk about martial arts. What do we say? We build focus, we build confidence, concentration,
Leadership
self-discipline, leadership skills. When you ask parents what they want relationship building, communication skills. They want public speaking skills. So how can we then take these things that parents want and implement them into the class? And that's what you market. Now you start getting more parents coming in saying, I want my kids to do this. But as martial artists, we also have to back it up. We have to have the skills on the floor to make sure that when parents walk in, they're seeing what's going on. When they're taking that first introductory class or that first trial class, they're like, man, I want my kid in this. This is exciting. So creating wow experiences. So it's marketing. It's also research and development, making sure that the instructors or school owners or whatever business you're in, that you're constantly understanding what's going on in the world and what skills you can acquire, and then constantly polishing and focusing on those basics.
What are your fundamentals?
My fundamentals, as in personally?
For your business.
Okay, first of all, transparency.
Well, that may affect your business, your personal.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're very, very similar. But for me, like personally, my family comes first. Like first and foremost, I'm my dad. Then I'm a husband. Then I'm an entrepreneur. That's for me. But as a business, transparency and consistency are king. Like we have to make sure that whatever we're operating, and being in the industry, there's been such a huge kind of veil over how we operate. And I think it's because we don't know how we operate. We're just kind of like a kid, like playing with a toy. And does this work? Oh yeah, it does. Okay, great. Let's do that. Or we have business people in there that are using some of these tactics that are not really ethical. That's where the contracts came into play. I don't view those as being ethical. Holding somebody to a 12-month contract that wants to quit,
sure,
because you didn't do your job.
Yeah.
So those are things. So being consistent, being transparent with how we do things, making sure that we are serving our students at the highest level, educating ourselves so we're better prepared to serve our people, being able to show that we're not just martial arts school, but we want to benefit and help the communities that we're in. I think you look at the old adage of a samurai. It means to serve. So you look at the highest forms of martial arts that we idolize as martial artists: ninja, samurai. We're not assassins, but as a samurai, we are serving our communities. We're doing what we can to step up. Food drives, blanket drives, anything that we can do. Blood drives, I think, are huge. So those are things that really kind of are at the core what we do, and then we take care of our people. Like it's we're a family. We grow, we learn, we train together, we sweat together. Sometimes we bleed together. It's all of that kind of helps us consistently move our needle to the next level, and that's how we operate.
I'm trying to go. There's some things you've said. I was like, man, that's like I always like when I talk to entrepreneurs, it's like, well, how can I do that, or what am I doing wrong, or how am I doing this differently, or, I do think everybody has an idea,
yeah,
and they think that idea is going to be the next big thing, or they think it's going to be successful, and a lot of times it's as simple as, hey, I'm going to mow yards, and truthfully, there's times, don't get me wrong, I've sat around, man, I'm going to give all this up and just go mow yards because you can't get people to mow your yard anymore. It's like, I called a kid one time. I was like, hey, man, you want to come mow my yard? Yeah. Next day, he messed. Yeah, I'll do it. When can you come out? 3 days later. I can come out on the weekend. What day on the weekend? And it was like, just like it was not a big deal. And either he's too busy or he didn't care or he's making just enough money. I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, he's making enough money probably just to get by and he's fine.
Because he doesn't have a plan.
Doesn't have a plan.
Doesn't have a plan. You have a plan. Plan pushes you to continue to push forward.
Well, I think it also is what you fall back on when it gets tough.
Yeah.
I think that's you got. Some people say you got to have a vision. You got to have a mission. What's your mission statement? What's your, but it's like you got to have some kind of a plan because when it gets hard, and it does get hard.
Yes.
It's not like you get to that point where it's like, man, I'm coasting. All of a sudden, something's going to come up. Whether it's a pandemic or it's a recession or it's just life.
Yeah.
Throws you a curveball. Something's going to come up and it's going to get tough. And it goes back to that thing where it's like, what do you do when it gets tough? Because those are the people that endure.
Yeah.
That's why when you look at somebody, we've been in business 25 years. Well, there's a reason for that, because it's so easy to,
success leaves clues. Yep.
Lease comes up. It's like, man, can I make this work? Or do I want to?
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out. But I do think having that plan is super, super important. And I like that that's where you start at. I think that's pretty cool.
It's just been, I'm a very analytical person.
Seems to be.
So it's, I'm constantly measuring. I always, I tell my staff and I tell my wife a lot. She knows me, hopefully, but I'm never here. I'm always 5 years ahead. Wow. Always.
Really?
So so when I'm living that far in the future, I know where I want to go. And so the decisions today, if it doesn't, I'm looking, it's very binary. It either pushes me towards my goals or away from my goals. And staying stagnant, being complacent is pushing me away. That's delaying. And so every decision I make needs to push me towards that goal. And the hardest thing is saying no to things, because you're constantly dealing with, oh, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do that? Hey, can you do this?
Yep.
So learning how to say no and be, it's not like, no, get out of here. No, it's being nice. And
I was literally I had that thought this morning.
Oh,
I was like, I gotta say no more. I can't do all these things for people.
Yes. And I tell you, when you do, it frees up so much time. I have something called a life wheel that really helps me a lot. So this has been my bonus hack. I picked this up from, I think, Tony Robbins, and it's just always stuck with me. You draw a circle, and then you just kind of divide the circle up into different pieces, and the different pieces are the areas of your life that you value: your family time, your workouts, your education, for us, it's our martial arts, my business, my finances, all those things, and then you scale it. You score them on a scale from 1 to 10. So I end up coloring in how strong I feel in that area right now. And then so what ends up happening is if you have everything at a 10, you're at a nice solid wheel and everything is good. But if my finances are a little bit, I'll score that a 4. My physical health, I score that as a 2, because as an entrepreneur, you're constantly sitting at a desk or developing something and you're not working on enough. And so when I'm sitting there thinking about what do I need to be focusing on, most entrepreneurs, most business people are like, I just don't know what to do because there's so many things to do. If you do the wheel, if you do that, you then know this is what I need to focus on. And if I can move the needle up in that direction, if I can improve my life in that area, I'll feel more balanced and I'll be more fulfilled and more prepared to be able to take on more challenges later on. So I constantly, this is like a monthly thing. I just fill it out. I look at it, think about, okay, I really just need to start working on the business side of things, because we're not making the numbers that I would really want to do for my staff. So my focus time, because I do lots of block scheduling, time mapping, time blocking, and my focus times each and every single day, when I say, okay, what do I need to be focusing on? It's that. Versus having a static, okay, I need to do my accounting today. I need to do my marketing on Tuesday. I need to do my class planning on Wednesday. It's what do I need to focus on that's going to help fill me and make me feel more fulfilled and move my needle forward on the areas of the life that I want to improve. And so when people say, you're a happy guy, that's why. It's because I'm constantly improving the stuff that I feel is falling behind.
So that's your compass.
Yes, it's my compass. That's where it tells me what I need to be focusing on.
Nice.
So if you do that, and you could do that with your personal life, you could do that with your business, you could do that with your, you can focus it down really, really fine, like your finances. What are my investments? What are my bank accounts? Do I have my buckets full? What's my contingency money in case, the stuff hits the fan? What do I need to be focusing on for that? And then where am I graded on those levels? And that's what you focus on. So it's a nice way to constantly remind yourself and constantly plan. So
do you think you're harder on yourself than you probably are?
Oh God, yeah. You better be. I mean, if you're not hard on yourself, if you don't expect the best, or if you don't expect greatness from yourself, how can you ever expect that in the people around you?
Mm-hmm.
And as a leader, I think you have to be. If I'm going to teach somebody to do something, I at least need to be a step or two ahead of them. And that's kind of what I do. If I'm leading my staff, if I'm trying to get them to progress forward and to be happy and fulfilled, well, it would be very shameful of me to be, do this to be happy and fulfilled. And meanwhile, I'm, in a corner crying or depressed or, financial ruin, you have to, I think you have to have an area that you focus on and you're hard on yourself on. But, give yourself some grace too. 'Cause
sounds like your business has been kind of like slow and steady.
Yes.
You've had a pace where you didn't flare up and fall back. You didn't flare up and fall. It's like a roller coaster. It's like and that seems to be kind of like your personality. I know my first video production company was like, it skyrocketed fast and then it fell just as quick.
It's a slingshot.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And it's where I really sat down and I was, well, what could I have done differently? And there was a long list.
Of course.
A long list.
Yeah. Retrospective. I mean, being able to look at things and say, man, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. I think is the sign of a good entrepreneur, of a good business person, and a sign of somebody who wants to improve. I will do this almost on every single class that I teach. I'll go and I'll teach a leadership class, and I'll come back and be like, I could have taught this better. We worked on the 5 levels of leadership, and I really kind of botched that last level. And my wife's she's my cheerleader. She's always the one that's on my side saying, listen, your worst class is probably somebody's best class. So don't be so hard on yourself. I'm sure you did great. But that desire to do better on a day-to-day basis is I think what gets you that next step forward, or puts you to that 1% better than your competition. That helps define who you are and how it makes you unique among your peers. That's I think the defining characteristic of a really good entrepreneur.
I love it.
Cool.
I really do. I think that's when you start a business, like that's, like you said, they don't teach it. They don't sit down. Here, let's talk about the plan. Let's talk about the vision.
Yeah.
I think those are terms that got tossed around. I remember when I was in college, that got tossed around like, what's your vision? What's your mission? I think those were trendy conversations.
Yeah. What's your tagline?
Yeah, I don't think they really, but they never really, and of course a lot of that comes with maturity too. You just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, okay, vision, that sounds cool. It's a cool word. What's the vision? But I didn't really, how do you take something that's ethereal and practically apply it to real life?
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Of course.
It's like, how do you take an idea and make it real?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do that physically. I'm physically going to build this deck. I can visualize it. This is how I'm going to mathematically put it together. And this is how I'm going to physically, build the thing.
Yeah. But there's a service with that.
There is.
I mean, and it's not just the how, it's the why. How you build a deck is one thing, but why are you building it? You're building it for a family so they can have more family time, so they don't have to be inside, so they can enjoy outside, so they can have those moments that they're sharing together. I mean, that's what I think is missing.
Is why people do.
Is why.
Yeah, I can honestly say I don't know that a lot of deck and films people go, well, I'm putting this together because they're going to have
It's because, and I'm telling you, it's because the education system has taught them nothing but just to focus on the money. So this is why so many people live paycheck to paycheck, because that's what they're looking at. If you don't look at the paycheck, the money will come. You do a service, you charge a fair, reasonable rate for it, money will come. But if you look at, I'm on a mission to help, I mean, it's for decking, to be able to create outdoor spaces that are that homeowners are proud of, that increase their home value. You start looking at it as this is, and you believe, and this is why I want to do this, and then you start marketing to that. How much more business would a deck fabricator get if they market on values that are going to speak to people versus you want a deck, I can build one. Like that. Okay, great. Now you are focusing on only the people that are looking currently for a deck versus you put an ad out, someone's not even paying attention or thinking about a deck, and they're thinking about, I would love to increase my home value. I would love to have an outdoor space that is something that I'm proud to be in and that my family can be in. And now you're speaking to a different crowd. And
all sales are emotional sales.
Yes. They're either moving towards pleasure or away from pain.
We don't sell toys and comics here. We sell nostalgia.
Yes. You sell a piece of their childhood back to them.
Emotion. That's all we sell here is emotion.
Yes. I'm looking at these Batman things back here and I'm like, oh man, like that's my kid. I'm people still call me Batman.
I'll be honest, man. When we looked at doing our business for this, it wasn't about so much selling, because when we were in Kentucky at the flea market, we were doing more Funko Pop vinyl figures, the little pop vinyls. Sold a lot of those.
Yeah.
But when we moved here, the market shifted and we were selling more comic books.
Really?
Because it's just whatever's around. Now the market shifted again. And we're selling more Pokemon cards. Which is
Pokemon's coming back.
I had no idea I didn't know the first thing about Pokemon cards. I was like, I don't understand this. But I had to learn. I had to learn quick. I had to learn how to price them and what they were and like the releases. And this has been going on for Pokemon's been around for 30 years.
Oh yeah.
It's like, or longer. I don't know. I know it's from the 90s. And there's some people that know every single release. This was this little character from this, and I'm going, man, you think you've got some knowledge about something, but imagine trying to get into something that's been around for 100 years, or 30 years or 50 years or whatever that conversation is, and trying to know every detail about that. But that doesn't matter, because I can honestly say I have customers that know way more about this stuff than I do, and that's fine. All right, I'm happy for them to educate me on what's a good Pokemon card, how to spot a fake one.
Yeah,
something I had to learn.
Tons of fake ones out there.
Totally, but now I've got to explain that to a parent who doesn't know either.
Yeah,
it's like, well, what do you mean this is a fake card? Well, let me show you.
Yeah,
this is what I've learned. This is how I say it. I say this is what I've learned, because I've never want to be one of those people. Well, I know.
Yeah,
I've not been doing this long enough to go, I know. I've been doing it long enough to know. Let me show you what I've learned.
Yes.
So I do try to be diligent, but the truth of it is, it wasn't so much we were trying to sell Pokemon cards. We weren't trying to sell action figures. We weren't trying to sell comic books. What we wanted was a place for people to come together.
Connection.
We wanted to build connection here, community.
Yes.
And we talked about this on our other podcast, the comic podcast we do. Just the other night, we were talking about how we have sort of built that. There are people, we have one of our longest customers, the guy that actually was here helping us put the walls up night before. We didn't even know him at the time. Now he's one of our favorite people in the whole world.
That is awesome.
And he's like, but we were talking about, like, y'all built a place that it's kind of like we have this responsibility to the community now.
Yes.
And you probably have the same feelings.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You have.
Now, in reality, it probably could go away tomorrow, and they'd be like, "Oh, remember we had that comic book shop?"
But we hope we have more of a lasting impact than that. But But
yeah, of course.
I mean, when you build that community, I mean, obviously the name of our school, Family First, we build a family. So we view our students as family. Now, inevitably, you have family members that you like and appreciate more than others. That's just part of it. And some people that really resonate with what you're doing and your mission and your vision.
And they come and go.
And they come and go. But the ones that stay, like, I always tell my staff, you never know how long we're gifted the opportunity to be able to impact the person that walks through our doors. And sometimes the impact happens with the child that's taking the classes, and sometimes it's the parent that's watching the classes. And we've had parents come to us and say, like an extreme version, that their child was depressed and on the verge of doing something really stupid. And because they found a community, a tribe, a family here, that now they feel like they have a place they belong. And we would have never known something like that if it wasn't for them sharing it. And the thing is like, you never know who's coming in here that just needs a place, just needs to be heard, just needs to be seen. The value of showing somebody that they're seen and they're heard is immeasurable. And that is a service that I don't think, when you create a business, you're creating that tribe. And, I think carrying on with that is so huge and so needed, which is why I think the education system is failing, because so many people could be doing that for their communities.
I asked my cousin this question, and it's been a minute since I asked her this question. It's been a few years. This was way before COVID. It's probably 10 years ago, honestly. She's a professional psychologist. And I said, I remember we were at Cracker Barrel.
The place where all things
in
happen.
Lebanon. Cracker Barrel. We were like, all right, yeah, it's where family comes together.
That's right.
I was like, let me ask you something. In your professional opinion, what is wrong with most people? And I'm telling you, without dropping a beat, she goes, they lack community.
Yeah.
And it's so true. People have to have a tribe. They have to have some place to belong, or at least feel like they belong.
Yes.
And I know that's what I wanted to create in my business, and I know that's what you probably sell more in your business than you do actually martial arts skills to protect you from little girls beating you up on the way home from school.
You got to bring old stuff up.
But I got one. I'm going to ask you this, man. If you had to say something to all the masses out there, and this is not just martial artists, but any guy who's trying to start their own business or in their own business, what would you say to them? What would you think would be the thing? If you could just say the most defining thing that you've learned, what would you say?
I would say probably the one thing that I've learned that I think points me in the right direction every time is when I go back to or coming up against a challenge or something. It's just what is going to bring me joy? What is the thing that is that I want? And I think too often the world, the media, the economy, what's going on, tries to put people in boxes and tries to say this is what you should be doing. And I think the people that have had massive success in the world are the ones that refuse to be put into that box, that refuse to listen to what the world tells them to be, and they're bold enough to be able to pave their own path. And they take every challenge, every opportunity, and every failure, and they mold it into something that it becomes the foundation to where they are. They take all the stuff that's said about them, the negative talk, the most successful person is the one that has the most arrows in their back. That's one of the things I learned. I thought it was hilarious, and it's true. As soon as you start getting success, you start getting people throwing stones at you and taking shots at you, and it sucks and it hurts. But the ones that are successful, the ones that brush them off, that build that resilience and keep moving forward. So don't listen to what the world is telling you to be. Be bold enough to be who you want to be, and then if you can provide a service with that, if you can provide a community with that, if you can serve with it and charge a fair rate, then you can obviously be successful as a business owner. So,
man, that's all good stuff.
Cool.
I love it. I love hearing it. Man, I can talk to you all day, but I got to move on to the next thing.
I got you.
Yeah, I'm working on a documentary.
Oh, sweet.
So I got to go up to White House and we got to do an interview up there.
That's
so
true.
It's a trek, yes. So we when you're dealing with some of these talent. You've got to kind of do it on their schedule. So,
I hear you, my friend.
but I'm going from this to the next thing, and but I'm kind of getting into this more, and I definitely want to talk to you more about some of your business opportunities. I feel like I don't talk enough, and we should.
We don't.
Like right over here. I know you're busy. I'm busy, but we're right across this. We should have a lunch at least once a week.
We should.
Just at the very least, go. Hey, what can we do to make Spring Hill? You asked me that when I called you the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is he asking me this? He said, what can I do for you? I was like, come on, you want to come buy some toys?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
But no, man, I do think there's ways to collaborate. We should
Absolutely.
be doing that more. I think that's, businesses don't do that enough. I think they rely on external entities sometimes to maybe do that for them. They don't need to.
No.
You just got to be brave enough to walk to your neighbor. Hey, I'm Tommy.
Community's
huge, especially in a town like this when it's all one street.
Yeah, I know, right? It's growing though.
It
oh
is
my
growing.
gosh.
It's crazy. But man, let's talk some more.
Let's do that.
Let's get together some more, and real quick, throw out there what your business, your socials, your websites. What can if anybody wants to take credit, throw it out there, man.
We have 2 schools in Franklin and Tennessee, or Franklin and Spring Hill, Tennessee. FamilyFirstMA.com is our Franklin school. FamilyFirstSpringHill.com is our Spring Hill school. I have a YouTube channel, The Martial Arts Edge. I need to put out more content.
We're gonna work on that.
I'm gonna
help you with that.
Thank you. And that's where you can find me. So.
Well, we definitely will go looking for you.
Sweet.
And from what I know, from my experience working with you, Larry, you're a great guy. I think you've got a great business model. And like I said, I do appreciate a lot of the business advice that you've kind of given me. Sort of may not have known it, but you've thrown it out there over the years. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing Family First take over Tennessee.
It's going to be great, man.
If not the Southeast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, it's been awesome. We'll probably do this again. I'll probably have you on again.
This is my first podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right?
I think you need your own.
I should.
I'll help you set that up.
Oh, sweet.
All right, man.
Awesome.
Well, listen, dude, I'm going to hop off here, and we will catch you on the flip side, bro.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.